Hi, welcome to the Education and Outreach Center. My name is Nick.
And I'm Jessie.
And today we're going to be going over our kit, the soil carbon. In this kit, we are actually looking at different soil samples from both a soil that was burnt in a wildfire and an unburned sample.
So I actually really am a big fan of this kit. I think it's a great way to look at the carbon cycle, the global carbon cycle, and not just one area. So just a quick overview of the materials in each kit. There will be two samples. We don't say if it's unburned versus burned. It's just sample A, sample B. The whole process, or the whole point, is that students will use their observations to make a educated guess, I guess you could say.
Come up with their own hypothesis or their own guess on which one was burned and which one was unburned.
We have two small vials. We have unburned wood and then a charred piece, a sieve, and a petri dish that go together. We have some neutral colored pencils in our kits. We're a fan of the neutral colored pencils. It just helps students be able to accurately draw what they see.
Plus it just makes their drawings in their science notebooks that much nicer.
We have this scale. If students haven't worked with scales before, just maybe give a quick explanation of how they set the modes. I think we work with grams and then also just tearing the system.
Tearing it out, zeroing it out.
We have some smaller, or a little bit larger vials, I guess you could say. A mortar and a pestle. A weigh boat for the balance, pipette, tweezers, flashlight that goes well with the microscope we have here, and then a little spray bottle.
A little bit of that H2O.
Exactly. So I'm just going to quickly walk through the methods. I almost forgot too. We have a little metal spoon which comes in handy. So for the first part of the experiment, students will just take a heaping spoonful of the soil sample. They'll put it in the sieve with the petri dish on the bottom. They'll kind of shake it around. Any of the small pieces that remain in the sieve, they'll transfer that to their mortar, and then they'll crush it up a little bit.
Yeah, kind of crush it up, grind it up, and then put it back into the sieve to try and get as much as that of that organic material as they possibly can.
Exactly, and that's just to break up all the pieces, like Nick said. So once that's all done and they have a good sample, they'll transfer that to their smaller petri dish and then add a little bit of water. Sometimes that helps when it
little spritz.
Yeah,
spray.
They don't need much, but it just helps when it comes time.
They don't want to drown it. They don't want water floating in it. They just want a little, just to moisten it up a little bit.
Exactly. So when using the microscope, these microscopes work really well with the students. I find that students get pretty good observations.
They do. They're solid microscopes.
Exactly. So a flashlight comes in handy. They just shine it on this metal or this plastic tubing, and that just allows light to come from
bends the light right back up into the microscope so you can get a better look.
Exactly.
And then when you observe it, you don't necessarily need the light. Sometimes you can observe what you need without it. But if you're in a rather dark room or if your students are having trouble seeing it, just have them use a flashlight and it'll help.
Exactly. And they can adjust this eyepiece as needed to get a clearer image. On page 9, well, this might change the page number, but we have a really good diagram of what they should be looking for. And then on the next page, they can just copy this into their science notebook, or you can already have it printed out for them. Either one works, but this experiment's really great because it emphasizes students drawing and making observations.
Document all of their observations, whether or not it is actually what that soil sample is like. If they have the unburned and they see some burnt or charred pieces in that sample, it's important that they document that and write that down. Every observation they see, they should write down.
Exactly. So then what they'll do, the last part of this piece, which is the analysis part, they will go back and they will take their sample. So if they took sample A, they'll get about 5 grams of the soil sample. So using their balance. And
using the little fancy boat.
The weigh boat. And they'll transfer that sample into this vial, add water, and then they'll look to see what they observe and stuff.
What floats, what doesn't, if there's any ash, if there's any color distortion, I guess you can call it, that you can tell whether or not what's charred and all that. It helps you determine what's burnt and what's sunburned.
And you can also have a discussion with them too why certain substances are lighter than others, you know, ash versus
Density things.
Yeah,
you know,
density.
Always a good thing to talk about.
Good word. And so then for this, once they go through this analysis piece, sometimes with the students we have on the board like unburned versus burned, and we have students, let's say like, oh, A was the unburned sample or B was the unburned sample. And this experiment's cool too because the whole process, or the whole point is that students go through the process of looking at samples, taking data, data and observations of what they see. So they might, you know, if A was the unburned sample, it might actually have burned stuff in it too. So it's not a definite, this is unburned, this is burned.
And that's always good to talk to your kids about it, because you're never going to get, I can't say never, you're not always going to get solid, straightforward data. Sometimes you're going to get data that might skew it a little bit, which is always good to have, especially in science, because then that gives you a better understanding and a better view on how it all works out. So we are currently working with a CSU professor, trying to keep this kit up to date and current on what is actually going on in the current research in the field, which is why you should always keep looking onto our website, making sure that you notice what is up to date, because we are constantly changing it.
Exactly. Wildfire research sure is heating up, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
All right. Well,
thank you. Have a good day.